Snap.
You're good.
Hey guys, welcome back to Ultima Games, and today we have an actual special episode. I have a few guests here who don't regularly appear on the channel, although I wish they would. And yeah, today we're going to talk about Overwatch. Now, there's been a lot going on with Overwatch and, the downfall of it per se. I'm just going to put this as a disclaimer right now. We have been longtime players for the most part. I've been off for a few years, but these two have been playing since the beginning. And take it with a grain of salt. Don't be upset if we feel like, we're shitting on the game because we're about to really hard. And yeah, we'll see where it goes from there. Justin and my buddy Flash over here. I don't even know your real name.
Bradley.
It's Bradley. I'm just going to call him Flash because I don't like that at all.
Bradley Upper Crust the Third.
So yeah, over the years now, Overwatch has had a bit of a decline, and in that sense, it's kind of becoming more aware as each season goes by. There's been some things where people or the fan base or the player base has just not had a great sense of, unity and just the content that's been put out for the game just hasn't been ideal for it. And how do you guys feel about like Overwatch as of like 2024 right now?
Yeah, this is Bradley here, so I'll start. If I'm being fair, so I like to play devil's advocate a lot. Blizzard, they have been putting out content. I think ever since like the Microsoft acquisition and with the leave of Body Kotick, like that's a whole thing you can talk about in and of itself. Mm-hmm. But I think they're sort of heading in the right direction, but over the years, it's just kind of felt like they haven't really improved the game in a competitive context in different like forms of the game in terms of adding content to like different modes, different heroes, different abilities, cosmetics, all that. Even though it's behind a paywall, mm-hmm. There is some effort in there, but like gameplay wise in like a competitive context, like it does not feel that different. Like You're still in the same exact like MMR system,
right?
You're still dealing with like the pains and headaches and like the randomness of like random teammates like being stacked up like against like better players, worse players. It's too random. And you can argue like in a real MMR system like it's just random, mm-hmm. But that doesn't feel good. Like to know that my skill is determined by this random algorithm, right. That doesn't feel good, Mm-hmm. Like if I have an axe and I'm chopping a tree for the first time, I'm not going to be very good, but like the more I do it, the better I'm going to get, right? But let's say you go to chop a tree, but you get a random tool, a random axe, not your steel, like crisp, sharp tool that you're used to. Mm-hmm. And like you're not gonna be able to cut that tree effectively because let's say like this random MMR gives you a random tool, right? You have the technique to chop. Sorry, I'll close it real quick.
Hit it with the baseball bat.
But like, it's like, hey, you were cutting this tree with a nice sharp steel axe. Now this week you're gonna cut it with a butter knife. Like, Come on, man. So like.
Yeah, Overwatch seems like it's been having its fair share of issues as far as balancing, but it feels like they've had that same problem for like the last. Like ever since the game's been out.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
How do you guys feel about the current, season of Overwatch? Do you guys like the seasonal model? Do you feel like it's overbearing or just it's greedy or money grubby? I noticed that there's not much PvE in the game right now aside from the few modes that it might have. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I'm gonna take over for that one. I'm Justin. Just so you know, Bradley is like a grandmaster level DPS.
Oh, nice.
I'm like a low diamond DPS and support. So we're not scrubs, just talking out of our butt here. Mm-hmm. So yeah, ever since Overwatch came out like in 2016, it was always like free, right? And like I said, Tomal was saying, or Ultima Gaming was saying that everything like about paywall and all that. But when it first came out, we were promised free content all the time. We had all this cool stuff that some stuff you have to buy, like some random stuff every now and then, which was fine. But it was a fair game. Then Overwatch 2 came out after like 3 years of not having anything come out that got put behind the paywall for the battle pass, which was okay because it seems like everyone does it. So like all the games are battle pass now. It's like, okay, fine, you want to do that, it's cool.
Right.
And it's cool because it isn't like other games like, I don't know, COD or Destiny where you had to play to get the best weapons to be good, but it was like, okay, if you want these skins, you gotta pay for it, and like it didn't add any like advantage in game, which was fine. That was an okay battle pass. It wasn't like those battle passes where you gotta pay to get the best weapons.
Right.
So I was okay with that at the start, but once Overwatch 2 came out, after 3 years of promising us like PvE, all these story modes, all of a sudden we've got a story mode and you have to pay for the story mode. Like, okay, what's up with that? I don't understand. Yeah. Then they started doing these weird like balancing changes where it seemed like the game was going to like, oh, let's make a faster paced game, but Overwatch wasn't meant for that. Overwatch was meant for you have tank, DPS, support. You got to work as a team, objective based. If you wanted a fast paced game, go play COD. Go play like Destiny. But all of a sudden, especially with the new patch Season 9, they added these huge hitboxes. Support is almost like non-existent anymore because DPS and tank heal themselves after 5 seconds.
Right.
So it literally just became like, okay, let's just try to make COD out of Overwatch, and it just became just doesn't work. It doesn't work anymore because that's not what this game was about, and that's why I think a lot of people were upset, especially myself. I just said, you know what, I'm not playing the game anymore. This game came out in 2016. It's 2024. It's 8 years of me putting my life into this game for them just to say, oh, we're just gonna make it COD now, and you know, if you don't like it, then oh well, you know. So that's why, you know, I'll end it with that. You know, that's really what caused downfall. One of the big causes of downfall was broken promises, not expanding on the lore, which they had so much freaking lore. They had so much ability to make these shorts, possibly make movies. I know Blizzard messed up with that World of Warcraft movie, but they could have done so much with Overwatch. Yeah. They were doing so much Overwatch, had action figures, all this stuff, and just they decided not to do anything with it. So, I mean, it's horrible. It sucks. I mean, especially for a game you put so much time and heart, like love and heart and emotion into. You know, I got into fight with Ultima Gaming. I got into fight with my captains of tanking, and you know, that's all part of the thing. But you know,
yeah, I mean, I said it like years ago when Overwatch 1 was like halfway through its life cycle, and I had a feeling that Blizzard wasn't going to support the game properly because it was weird, because around that time there was all these weird changes, all these balancing issues, and I understand, you know, new characters get introduced and, you know, new metas get, you know, established and whatnot, but it was just so weird because like when I play Destiny, it's like, yeah, there's some stuff that makes that it's OP in the new season, but that's just new like integrations, like new guns and stuff like that. But for Overwatch, it was always a balancing issue with like the same heroes, like Genji being too strong, Tracer being too fast or too annoying.
Brigitte always busted.
Brigitte always like just messing up entire teams with just her special alone.
Yeah.
And it's just feel like they never found that like balance that they needed for themselves, and it never solidified itself like it should have when Overwatch 2 came. And I noticed another big thing about Overwatch 2 that a lot of people were really mad about was that the PvE content got scrapped early on because they made a huge promise to it, and they pretty much said that they weren't able to do it.
They promised us, like, we went 3 years without no heroes, no maps, with the promise of, oh, we promise we're working on the PvE. We promise we're going to give you this content. Never came out.
Yeah.
And it's like, what the heck did we wait all that time for?
Right.
You know, and it was just,
Yeah, and I mean, Overwatch is a pretty solid shooter. Like, moment to moment gameplay is fantastic. It's solid. It's fun. It plays really well and handles really well. I mean, there's a great game underneath all this. You know, all these problems.
Like I said, it definitely, like, and I mean, Ultima Gaming might agree, might disagree. And I've said this for a while now, and literally probably the biggest blunder in gaming history. I can't think of another game that had so much going for it. Like, they had an official like league that was doing pretty well.
Yeah.
Just messed it all up. And I to go off of what Ultima Gaming was saying, I think it happened around the time that Activision started acquiring Blizzard, that they started kind of...
Yeah. I mean, they had some internal issues they had to figure out, and, you know, they were going through their whole drama and whatnot, and, you know, I'm sure that the whole acquisition was messing up business to certain degrees, but it was just the lack of content and just the lack of support for the game just didn't make sense at the time, because a game like Destiny that had like a lot of people hated, people still play that game. People enjoy it. People find it fun. There's still a big fan base for it. I mean, they've taken their losses here and there, you know, throughout the years, of course, you know, especially with the recent loss of all of their employees. I think it was over like 100 people who got let go, but they still stay strong with their community and their team, and still getting stuff done as far as content goes. But for Overwatch, it's just always some kind of issue or something it's always lacking in, and it just really hurts the game.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask Ultima Gaming this, and like I said, for someone who was as passionate about this game as I was, did you think when Overwatch 1 came out that the promise of, we're gonna have free content, is like, they might have a couple of special, like with the Mercy breast cancer awareness of like $15, whatever. I got it for free, even though no one believes me. But the top 500 Mercy, I tell you, top 500.
I remember that. I remember you bragging about
Yeah,
that.
I was bragging about it. But the fact that they promised all this like free updates, like the free things, compared to Destiny that said, you know what, we're gonna have DLC, but you gotta pay for it. And so, do you think Ultimate Gaming, that because of all this free stuff, it kind of made them start to kind of cut corners, not do as much because they weren't getting like revenue back for just the free stuff, compared to Destiny that was actually getting revenue back from the DLC?
Not really, in a sense, because when you make a game, you have an obligation to keep it going, to a certain degree. I mean, they could have done a ton of things. They could have put more cosmetic skins in, because they usually drip feed us, cosmetic skins or, seasonal activities and stuff to give us new stuff or cosmetic items. But they could have done a lot more. Like, their PvE isn't that complicated. It's not hardcore or anything like that. It's not like Destiny's PvE where you have actual weird mechanics. You just have basically a couple of heroes doing certain objectives in an area where there's a bunch of enemies coming in, and that's their formula for Overwatch. But they could have done a lot more. I mean, they could have made season passes way sooner back then. They knew that was going to be a popular thing, like they're doing now. They could have just put out a whole bunch of skins. Collaborations would have been a thing.
They have a couple collaborations. They had the One Punch Man.
Yeah, they do.
They do like the Hearthstone, which is still Blizzard.
Yeah, now they do, but in Overwatch 2. But with like the thing that's cool about Destiny is that like they can do collaborations, they can put out free content easily enough. Their season pass makes sense. It's not pay to win. If you want to like level up in Destiny 2, there's always something to chase. There's always something to good for. Like, you can go play Destiny 2 right now and just you finish the campaign, you'll have enough equipment to basically be meta pretty much in a sense, as long as you got the skills to keep up with PvP. But with Overwatch, there's nothing to really chase. There's no incentive to keep going. It's like, okay, you get a team, you get a 6-stack or whatever, 5-stack or whatever now, since it is
5-stack now.
5-stack now basically. And you play well, you support each other, you guys are everyone's doing their job. That's pretty much it. There's nothing to chase in Overwatch 2. I mean, skins are nice, but at the same time, it's like there's nothing fun to really do. And I've seen the Jade weapons for the new season, and it's like,
that was
they're just green.
Yeah.
Like, that's not much of an incentive.
Even look better than gold, and like that's what I was like concerned about. Like when they came out with this concept of like Jade weapons, and I was like, oh, I guess that's cool, but like, is there going to be like other iterations, or is there going to be other weapons besides Jade? It's like you play this whole season, and mind you, you have to get wins to get like points or draws. I don't think you get points for losses. And like you go through all of this like anguish to get lots of wins. You have to focus, you have to coordinate, like you go through all of this effort. Right. At the end of the season, right, is when you get like the bulk participation, like depending on where you rank. Let's say like you rank from like gold to like platinum. I think the buyout for the participation of getting like platinum in that season is like a 300 or 400 competitive points. Yeah. But a Jade or gold weapon is like 3,000.
That's crazy.
So like you have to be either winning and ranking up a lot in order to like secure these gold weapons, or just you need to be playing hardcore, just ranked, even if you're not ranking up, for just many months to years. Right. To get one cosmetic weapon, like that's a lot of effort for like very little payoff.
Yeah.
And a couple like caveats I want to make to Justin's point is Overwatch does kind of have that pay to win like aspect to it, or a component, because like certain heroes are behind a paywall.
Now
that are meta, right?
Yeah.
I know like when Malga, however he's pronounced, the new Hawaiian like tank, it's got like 2 turrets. He's like really strong. I remember seeing a clip of like, I think it was on like a Samito stream or like some kind of like streamer, where like the opponent mid-game leaves the match to go buy Malga, come back, and then be able to play him because the enemy team had Malga, but he didn't. So it's like, in order to get like these meta heroes or these very strong heroes,
you do gotta pay for it. Yeah.
It's like behind a paywall. So it almost kind of creeps into the territory of pay to win, which is so like, I don't know if you can argue if that's competitive or not, but like for the average player, especially like if you're outside of Overwatch or gaming, like the economy that we're in and how people are just like struggling with like money and people are getting laid off and losing jobs and have other expenses to come up, and like let's say they just after a long day of work, long day of life, they want to come home and enjoy some Overwatch, and let's say like they want to be able to have like a generally fair experience, but you're up against an enemy team that's just super try hard and just like that ruins the experience, and you have to have this hero behind a paywall in order to even somewhat have some sort of like competitive like edge or keep up. Like I think that's really bad.
Yeah. That's crazy to think, because like I saw that like in the first battle pass, like little section is a heroes hidden behind that, and this is a game that's free to play.
Yeah.
So the fact that you can't have access to a certain character because you don't buy the battle pass is insane.
Yeah.
Like that's nuts.
You do unlock it after like 30 usually, right? Or 50 or something like that.
I think because there's certain hero challenges that are in the game, so like if you meet those challenges, you can unlock the hero, but it's like that requires you to be dedicated to the game, right?
Yeah.
So like it feels like the game has only been like developed towards like the hardcore like people who can play the game full time.
Yeah.
Like and not your average player, especially of like a $5 million player base.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, cause I play the game. When we play the game, we play it like I play casually that like the last points, and even throughout that whole season, like hypothetically, if I didn't pay for that battle pass, I only get to like 20ish, and then that's the hero that's like 30.
Yeah.
So if you're a casual player, you're probably not gonna play. You
Like
that hero.
there's a lot of things that have led up to the game kind of almost alienating the casual player. Because again, games in general, gaming, having a video game, what's the purpose of it? For entertainment, right? We are playing to entertain ourselves, to enjoy it. But like when it comes to like in a live service game and you're playing against other players and around the world, no matter what capacity or what mode you're playing, there's going to be a try-hard. There's going to be a competitive player.
Oh yeah.
And it's like that kind of almost ruins the experience. Or it's like I just want to play the game and have fun and not be sent to the spawn room 10 times.
Yeah.
Right? That's not fun. I don't want to sit in a loading screen.
That's Ultima gaming, by the way.
But like, just like all joking aside, it's just like, yeah, the game has just been developed in a way. And again, with the other points that you guys made up with the Blizzard having scandals and their acquisition and whatnot.
Well, Activision had the scandals, but because Blizzard
Right.
was owned by them, of course.
They had really bad leadership, so like you can't like blame the development so much because there was a lot of like ideological and long-term like visions for the game that were conflicting. Like Bobby Kotick, who was the original CEO of Blizzard, wanted the game to be like a quick cash grab. So like he was putting pressure on these developers to do like quick short-term like things for the game. It's like, oh, like put it behind a paddle pass, get these skins out, get these projects out. He would put so many different projects on the development team that were not feasible for them to complete. And it's like Jeff Kaplan and all the other original developers were like, yo, we can't get this done. So they had to do with what they were working with. Right. So that's kind of why I guess you can argue that's why we're getting such BS like content or almost to no content, right? So yeah, I mean, the game is just, when we first launched it, it was Game of the Year in 2016.
Yep.
For a reason. For people who didn't even play the game Overwatch were fans of Overwatch. Yeah. Like we can get into like kind of like how we all met and how we came together, and that's a good reason as to why like we were playing. But like, yeah, like Overwatch was a game of the year for the reason, because of all of its inclusivity, right? Like all of its character diversity, all of like the unique like shooter experience that it offered that no one was used to.
Yep. It wasn't just point and shoot like COD.
Yeah.
It was like you have heroes who have spread, you have a sniper sometimes, you have a bow and arrow guy, you have a shotgun guy, you have
all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, you had everything. Yeah, and it made everyone felt like this game is for them. Like it wasn't just like, oh, let me be some soldier who just shoot some people. Like no, like you actually have to work as a team. There's toxicity. There's always gonna be toxicity no matter what.
Yeah.
But it actually made you felt like you're a part of a team. Like for the guys who couldn't play sports or couldn't do stuff outside, it actually made you feel like, look, I'm part of something. Like whether it's ranked or unranked, or competitive, whatever, it made you feel like somebody.
What I've really enjoyed is like with the diversity of the character selection, everyone had a character they could identify with.
Yeah.
And You know, like that's why like a lot of people fell in love with the game, even competitive players, casual players, anything. Like there was a character for almost everybody,
and it didn't feel forced. Like
Yeah.
Right.
when
You
you
have
found
a choice.
out when you found out Tracer was part of the LGBT community, I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense, cool. I wasn't like, oh, they wasn't like like other places like Legend of Korra where it felt forced that they're gay. Like no.
Whoa.
We'll talk about that later. Ultima Gaming. We'll talk,
Off topic,
That's
but
a
yeah.
different move, different thing. But like I said, when you found out these players were like alternative lifestyles, and like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Cool. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Yeah, I mean, there's variety, there's personality to this game. Like we said, we don't completely hate the game of Overwatch. I mean,
well, I do now.
every game has its issues to some degree, and every game's gonna have a problem, especially games with really long lifestyles. A lot like lifestyles.
No,
life cycles.
Life cycles. There you go.
Yeah, my bad. We've been drinking a little bit, but yeah, it's just with Overwatch, the problems are just so back to back. It just feels like it's more of a. It's just like there's a problem every corner. There's an issue at every turn.
Yep.
We're still dealing with things like hero balancing problems on heroes that have been in the game since the original days of Overwatch 1. And it's crazy that they still haven't found out a formula to fix the heroes. I don't know if it's too hard to figure out a balancing issue or if characters are too hard to develop. But it's just super strange to see this nowadays. And I mean, there's games that make it work just fine,
When it comes to balancing issues, like the cool thing about Overwatch before was, like, we can like overbalance somebody or underbalance somebody, and it would create metas. Like you have
Right.
to, and it was cool because you had to kind of learn how to play like a different hero, which is kind of cool. It's refreshing, even if it's the old hero. You had that you never played before. You know, like I had never played Symmetra at some point, and all of a sudden they made her kind of like overbalanced, and she was good, so I learned how to play Symmetra.
Right.
So it kept the game fresh. But like say like hypothetically, this new patch where they like your soldier now, or even Widowmaker, they brought her HP up. You shoot 4 feet like away from the head and it's a headshot.
Yeah.
That's not how Overwatch is meant to be played. You have these heroes where like now you stand behind cover for 5 seconds, and everyone has a passive healing now. When they gave passive healing to support, it made kind of sense. You're a support, you should be able to heal yourself at some point.
Right.
But now everybody, if you don't take damage for 5 seconds, you get healed automatically. And not only that, when you're taking damage, you only get half the healing of your support. So literally, like support were never meant to be DPS. That's not the role of a support.
Right.
But now you've made support literally like useless. Like there's no use to a support. Because think about it, even if you stand behind cover and get healing, so you get the full healing amount, you could have just stood behind the cover and heal yourself.
Yeah.
Plus the health packs.
That
Like
makes
like I said, like I think we said it before, they're making Overwatch into like a Call of Duty fast-paced game. Shoot freaking 4 feet away from the head and you get a headshot.
Yeah.
And that was never meant to be Overwatch.
I mean, they definitely have their own issues. I feel like at some point, and I hope that they fix these issues. I don't know what they plan to do for the future. I'm still looking into Overwatch 2 as just a game in general, as a whole.
Yeah,
but I mean, it's just wild to think about that. Like how much this game is just
like
declined.
as a guy who put in 8 years of dedication, like I think we went like 1 year without playing, like in 2017, because we couldn't figure out what the game was about.
Yeah.
And then once we figured out, like, oh wait, this is like a team-based game. You can't just go out and kill people and win the game.
Mm-hmm.
I put in so much time and effort, like for me to say, you know what, I think I'm officially done with the game. Like I've already pretty much uninstalled it. Bradley here, who's known as Flash on his Battle.net, he's still playing. Like he's a high level DPS. Not very high in support and tank, but it's cool. But he's a very high level DPS.
Fired.
I expect him to continue to play and continue to get good. And because the cool thing about Flash is he's always been really resilient. He knows how to play different heroes, whether bad patch, good patch, this patch, whatever patch. Me, like that, I just I started off as a support. I learned how to play DPS even though my team didn't like me playing DPS all the time.
Right.
But like when you literally go in, and I love playing support. I love playing Mercy, and no one believed me, but I was a top 500 Mercy at one point. And like to make you, when you play a game and like you go back to playing support, because I love playing support. I love being able to heal people. I play Battlefield. I love being the medic.
Mm-hmm.
But when you go in and you literally feel like I'm not doing anything, like I'm not helping this team win.
Right.
It makes you feel so crappy, and it takes away that like inclusivity of like you like me, like when Lifeweaver came out with one of the newer heroes, I felt so close to him because he did everything I liked. He had escapability, he had attack, he'd be able to do cool stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like it makes me feel like so sad. Like you shouldn't feel sad playing a video game,
Right.
and I feel so sad playing this video game. Like it just makes me not want to play the game, and it sucks because I put so much time and effort into this game.
I think there's we also have to understand like what's our goal when playing Overwatch or like any video game in general, because if we're playing to hardcore, just like win every single game, like, and you're not, because in Overwatch, again, when I was talking about the randomness, like you're gonna get random pairings of like players, especially when you stack. Like, because when we play groups of like our 5 or 4, 6 or whatever, even back to Overwatch 1, the MMR or the system is going to match us against like other stacks or players of higher skill to compensate. So like if we're playing to win and we don't get that result every time, it's going to feel really, really bad, right? We have an expectation that because we're a stack, we've played for many years, we should be coordinated enough and good enough to play and compete and win and succeed, but like that's just unfortunate not how the game is designed. So I think like especially when the past like year or two when I was playing with you guys again, I know we kind of had a little bit of a hiatus and we formed up again, and that felt so good. I felt so like good to know that I can play with my friends again, even if I lived 400 miles away. Because I'm from Chicago, we're in Las Vegas, where Justin and Taman, where everyone else is from. It's like we connected in a way that like this game brought us together. People miles, hundreds of miles away, we connected and have. That's another reason why I'm out here, because I've made a connection with you guys over the years playing this game, right? And that's like another point I was making earlier, is just like this game, people have gotten married playing this game. Believe it or not, I'm not kidding. People have met their significant others.
Mercy Roadhog, you already know.
Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, I've met so many people who have like, yeah, I met my future wife playing Overwatch. Like, we played for 4 years before we met, and we're married. I'm like, that's insane. That's crazy.
Yeah, think about this. We've done Flash for what, like 7, 8, almost 8 years, and we're just meeting him IRL right now. Like, this podcast is
it's a little surreal, yeah.
Ultima Gaming, just meeting him for the first time. I just met him at IRL like yesterday.
And I guess my to add on, like to finish my point here, to bring it home, is that like we've had kind of like this expectation that we have to win every game, but like now that the game has changed, it's like almost relearning the game again, because Overwatch is such a complicated game. This isn't a simple like checkers chess where there's one like you know what you have to do to win the objective or the mode that you're playing,
right?
But to get up to that point is so not clear.
Yeah, understanding your what's it called, your weaknesses, your balances, how to check the opponent. Because what they call it for a long time, when they switch Counterwatch. Because that's really what it was.
Oh my god!
Because I feel like it was chess. Because chess is like that. Chess is more of a complicated game.
Right.
It's not checkers where you just go 1, 2, 3, 4.
I guess what I was trying to say is like the win condition is so blurred. It really is. Like you could be stomping on a team for 5 minutes,
and they will come.
But then like they'll come back in the last minute, and then you'll lose the game, and then you're wondering like, what the hell just happened? Like we were winning, and then for some reason. What I'm going to say is that doesn't make the team morale feel good. Like, well, I notice sometimes when we're playing as a team and we're all really close friends and we really care about each other, but like when we're all tasked to accomplish something and we don't meet that task, it gets kind of quiet. We feel really reserved. we feel really bad, or it's like, oh, someone's not doing their thing. We start to get a little resentment, and that's terrible. Yeah. You don't want that in like friends and people who are trusting each other to achieve something. And that feels terrible, right? Because I'm doing my best to play as hard as I can to help us get to that achievement. And let's say, like, one of our supports is, like, 0-6, right? They're just having a bad game. I get it. That happens to everybody. I've been 0-6. I've had slow starts. It's terrible.
Yeah.
And then, like, when we look at the stat button on Overwatch 2, it's like, oh, well, Flash has been screwing us over. Or, like, hey... one of our supports has been dying a lot, or like, hey, we can't answer this enemy like Widowmaker. That feels terrible, right? That feels really bad. And like, and I think with our recent experience with the changes of Overwatch is like, wow, like we're just dying easier, or like it's harder to kill an opponent because of the changes with the projectile changes, the buffs, the hitboxes. Like, I think the experience we've had is left a very, very bad taste. Yeah. Which is why we're like, oh, we're done with this game. But like for me personally, like I'm not gonna stop playing. I'm still gonna be around and keep my toe in the water, because this game has done more than just bring online people together. I'm here IRL from Vegas. You guys have wanted me to come out here for so long.
Yeah.
Years.
As like we've formed a relationship
Overwatch.
online. You know, that's insane to think about. Like
Yeah.
that's amazing in my
Yeah.
opinion. So
Yeah, just to piggy off you, like I just think like Overwatch itself was just such a well-based, like team-based game that like yeah, it's cool like when you see like okay, yeah, someone's struggling stat-wise, but like I said, like we've that's why I think I liked it when it took away the medals. Because a lot of times people were like, "Oh, I had goldy limbs." Like
those were so toxic.
yeah, like
They were.
it wasn't an FPS. Like, and I hate keep bringing the same thing over and over again, but it's not COD. Your KD don't matter. Like as long as you win the game.
True,
and
true.
I said like a lot of times people.
Yeah.
That's why like it's weird when you. Like we both come from a sports background, like IRL sports, football, baseball.
We're playing football today.
Yeah, understanding that look, your teammate's gonna mess up, but you gotta continue to trust them. Stay your lane, do what you can to help. And one thing I've noticed about like gamers in general that don't have that experience is when someone is messing up in their team, they immediately start getting toxic about it. And that was always like one of a bad thing about Overwatch. But like our team, like specifically, like sometimes it happens too. But it was so good to actually see like. Having a team, like an actual team, like building morale and actually having a real team. We have plenty of guys to play sports, and they understand like we are having the best game. Sometimes they get toxic, but like a lot of times you have to realize that this really technically is a sport. I mean nowadays, you've seen the Overwatch League was a real thing, and that there's a reason why Overwatch League was a real thing because it's about as close to like an IRL sport as you can really get. That's why we always liked it because we can always do that, but.
Not to come.
Yeah, but I feel like nowadays it just get elims and win.
Not to compare apples to oranges. Like I completely agree with you that like I'm glad they removed the medal system. Like that was very very just misguiding and misleading, and that's just like that made everyone, especially anyone who had their own head up their own butt.
Yeah. I had more elims than you.
Yeah, like you could have one elim and that's gold. Like that doesn't mean anything. You have one elim while the enemy has like 15, right? So like. Not to compare apples to oranges, like when it comes to sports, like even basketball, soccer, football, it doesn't matter. Like you don't know what your teammate is accomplishing, right? On the side, like
like in the
you could see them like miss a catch or miss a free throw or something like that. Like there are those moments where you're noticing your teammate like falling short, but like throughout the entire game, you're not seeing them either dominating their opponent, getting their technique right, or being in the right spot at the right time. They could be playing perfectly, but that one moment where they don't make that catch or free throw, and that's all you see. That's the only feedback you get that, oh, my team's not performing. But at the end...
Flash died again. Like, come on, man.
Right, but like at the end of the day, I could be taking a very strong position. I could be setting up our team right. And then I'll admit when I'm like underperforming. I will be like, yo, this is my bad, y'all. Yeah, I'm dying too much. And sometimes I'll fall into that little trap that I'll try to make excuses as to why I died or why I was in the right spot or why that. Like, everybody does that, right? Because no one wants to look bad. But like with Overwatch, because of that visible stat, like you could see like, oh, my teammate is only like 6-3. They're not a lot of elims, but like you don't know if they're drawing resources away. You're not looking at the like things you don't see. And with Overwatch, you have all this information where you can see stats and you can form an opinion that my teammate's not performing. But like, how do you? The stats don't tell the full picture. That's what I was getting at. So
and that's just like real sport. Like you see football sports, you see football stats. It's not always the big like the stats don't show everything. They show a good amount. But they don't show everything. Like when I'm playing Widow, and I'm not getting headshots. But guess what? If I'm doing damage and pushing them to like hide from me, that allows space for our tank to create more space, and our other DPS to go in and do more damage.
It's almost like a macro version of the game.
But all I hear is like, "Oh, you're not getting headshots, Widowmaker. Why aren't you killing?" I'm like, "Whoa,"
So simplistic, right? So one-dimensional, and that's I think.
Yeah, that's why, like I said, like
it's not good.
Yeah, like when you bring it up, like I said, and I know you're gonna keep bringing it up, but it is the most popular game. You bring up COD. You get 1 million kills and you get 1 death, and of course you win. That's not how Overwatch is. That's why we stopped playing that. That after 2016, we didn't play for a year because we didn't have the understanding of we're getting kills. Why aren't we winning? But then when you realize like it's not all about the kills. It's about maybe doing the damage. Maybe create as a tank. You create the space as a support. You're not getting killed. Especially
maybe
back
getting
in
the right ultimate at the right time. Or targeting the right support or hero or player who's carrying their game. Right. If you could be whooping the enemy team's other few players, but if they have that one player that's popping off, if he's not being answered, then it's like, whoa, why are we winning? We're kicking their butts. We're sending them to the spawn room. We're doing way more stats, but that one player is like getting them back in everything, and then we're wondering,
yep,
what is going on? And then we start looking at each other, and then we implode, and it's like,
and then you start bringing all this morale. Like, oh, why are you doing? You get off DPS. You suck. Go to support. And I'm like, cool. I mean, I can play support, but we're gonna keep losing.
And it's just like one thing I don't like. And I know, like, after when we played Overwatch after that big patch in Season 9, it's like everyone was like, oh, we're done, we're quitting. And I understand, like, make your own decision. It's a video game. Like, you can stop playing whatever the heck you want.
I think
you can put it up whenever you want. It's your choice. I understand that, but, like...
I think a big issue is everyone thinks they're pro. Everyone's like, oh, yeah, we're playing to go pro. Like, no, we're playing console. As it is, when you went pro, it was PC. I hate when people play like PS4 or Xbox and, like, they're... Like, I understand, obviously be competitive. But I hate when people are playing like, oh, we're going to go pro, like, right now. Like, that's not going to happen playing console.
You're on a win streak and you think you're the best in the world. Yeah. Like, you gotta... Sometimes your ego, like, gives you this false, like, loop in narrative. But, like, one thing that, like, that's why I'm still going to, like, play every now and then. Not as hardcore because, like, I have other IRL responsibilities coming up. But, like, at the same time, I'm still going to be playing. I'm still going to be on every now and then. Like, if you guys, like, talk in the group chat, hey, we're getting on, I'm going to hop on like nothing changed. Because it's not the game that I'm, like, looking forward to playing. It's, like, it's the relationship. It's, like, getting on and talking and being excited that I get to, like, be with you guys in a certain space.
Yeah.
Because, like, when you guys are in the troop chat, like, oh, Overwatch? Trust me. Like, whatever in the middle of doing, I will make up any excuse I can. Or do whatever I can to get out of what I'm doing to go be signed online. Because I'm excited to talk and be doing the same thing with you guys. Because, again, I live hundreds of miles away.
Just moved to Vegas.
Yeah, you know what I mean. But, like, it's like, yeah, that's mostly what I played for. It's just to be with you guys for this hour, 2 hour, 3 hour that I have. Because I don't live out here.
Yeah.
Like, this is the only time I have with you guys. And it could end at any point. Yeah. And that's scary.
Yeah, that's why
so I'm trying to capitalize on any time I can get.
Yeah, that's why I felt like Overwatch was just so great. Like, and it had everything on it. Because, like I said, when you play other games, like other, multiplayer games, like, it was just kind of like, oh, hey, bro, want to play? Yeah, cool. But, like, it felt like when Overwatch, when you call someone for Overwatch, it's like, yeah, let's squad up. Let's get on. Let's get on. I've played
back.
I've played all the games. I've been, like, when MLG was popular, I was Halo. I was Modern Warfare 2. I did everything. I've done all of it. I've been in teams.
With that too.
And there was nothing, like, in my experience...
It's like you play with local friends, like the high school, right? But like with Overwatch, or at least you could say this is just gaming in our modern day.
Yeah.
You can play with anyone around the world.
Yeah.
And you don't know the kind of friendship and connection you're going to make.
Yeah, it just because this is a legit team-based game, it really brings you together, or it really has, like, an ability to either show, like, how toxic you are, or just how much of a real teammate you are. Mm-hmm. And other games don't do that. Like, it seems like every other game is just toxic. So, and as toxic as Overwatch
it's just like smack talk. It's like
that's all there was.
That's not creative. That's not intuitive. That's very unevolved. Yeah. If all you're doing is just to boot up this game, just to, like, tell me, I'm not going to go into harsh details of what I've heard and said, but, like.
Yeah. Yeah, like, even like when I boot up, like, Battlefield or COD, I don't hear, like, almost no one talking anymore except for, like, little kids. Like, I have my mic on, like, and I just hear no more talking. But when I play Overwatch, like,
you have people from all backgrounds. You have, like,
50-year-olds
who are playing the game.
Now it's not always nice talking. Like, it was like when I was younger and played, like, all the games, like, it was all kinds of trash talk all over the lobby, but it was always just trash talk. It was hardly ever anything constructive. Mm-hmm. So even when, like, but with Overwatch, if you could tell people are, like, as bad as you take it, like, as toxic as they are, it seems like they're people are trying to be constructive. Never got that from COD. Never got that from Halo. Never got that from Destiny. It's cool. Like I said, Overwatch just brought so many things, and it sucks that the blunder that either Activision or Blizzard did. I felt like this game had so much more that could have been done, and it wasn't because like I said, it just. I mean, you would hope that, like, with Microsoft just acquired Blizzard or Activision, you would think they would, like, kind of make it cool again, but
I mean that Microsoft handling IP is a totally different problem for them right now.
Yeah.
They've had their own personal issues, but I get where you guys are coming from. It makes sense. I mean, Blizzard and Activision are probably in a really hard space right now with this game.
They were two of the biggest, like,
yeah, they are, and they're still really big, but they have their own personal issues. It's going to be really hard for them to come back. I feel like they're just stuck in the loop of just trying to always find the right formula that works, instead of just improving upon the game that it is.
Yeah,
and
it's going out with COD every year instead of just making like COD better for a couple of years and then come out with the COD.
And I mean, you work for Blizzard / Microsoft, or you work for Activision pretty much too. So they're one of the most notoriously greedy companies ever. I mean, just look at how Call of Duty is now now. So I mean,
do they still do Candy Crush?
I have no idea, but
that game went forever, and like the same game, like just never did.
Yeah, it's those predatory microtransactions, man. But I mean, Overwatch has a long road to go. I feel like the player base is going to stick around for a long time. I hope that's the case for that game because
I mean, it's just so hard to see. Like,
yeah,
because think about we lost Overwatch League already. There's no more like animated shorts at least that I've seen come out. Even when Marlo came out, there was one kind of decent animated short. But
yeah, like a minute 30.5 trailer or something.
Yeah, it was cool, but yeah, it just like what it could have been to what it is. It's like, I mean, it might go on a little bit more. Maybe we'll get a couple more heroes, but I don't know, man. It's just,
yeah, they definitely have a tough road ahead of them. I don't know what they plan to do or what their future plans look like. I haven't been in the loop of Overwatch in a while, but yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see them next year and see what they do.
I mean, BlizzCon was boring as hell this year.
I mean, that's just the way to go. But I mean, as far as like, Microsoft and Sony, they've been really quiet, especially Sony themselves. Microsoft's just been focusing on their Game Pass stuff, so they're not too worried about them, I believe.
I mean, they're too busy taking... Well, this is a whole different discussion, as you already discussed, but they're too busy taking all the PlayStation IPs.
Yeah, pretty much for the most part. But, I mean, we'll see what happens. I'm curious to see what happens when it goes. Have you guys gotten your points out? Is there anything more you want to say about this game?
I mean, I'm probably going to stay retired. I love Overwatch. I just want to focus more on, regular player games that are like not online. I think I'm into the age where it's like, I see COD, I'm like, I'll probably stick with Battlefield a little bit, but I think I've given Overwatch a lot of time. I just don't see a direction they're going in that I like.
Right.
I mean, obviously, if you love playing Overwatch, continue to play Overwatch. Love Overwatch. I'll still watch like when they come out with animated shorts. If they come out with animated shorts, I always love them. They have a lot of my waifus. Mercy, Ash is my baby girl. You already know that. Big booty widow. But I mean, like I just I think I'm continuing on the path where I'm done. I mean, I got kids now and stuff, and it's just too much work to continue on with Overwatch, watching all the patch notes and dealing with these damn patches and all that. So I was never a super great Overwatch player. Like I said, I was low diamond for both support and DPS, so I'm okay with that. I'm fine with that myself.
Makes sense. Yeah. I mean, how about you, Flash? Any last words?
Yeah. I'll try to make my points like clear and concise here. Again, like I've just like Justin said, I've got some IRL things that are coming up. So I'm before even like I realized I've got like some things to take care of. After our experiment, I guess, or our last group after the patch, everyone was like, "Yo, I'm done." Like I had already decided that okay, it doesn't feel good to know that like my close friends that I've known for so years don't want to play the game. I've decided that I'm still going to have my toe in the water, right? Because like Justin said, I've invested years of my life into this game, and honestly, I have no regrets because what has it given me? It's given me more connections, more relationships, more like things that you can't get with like money, right? Like because money, you could say buys you happiness, but like at the end of the day, memories buy you happiness, connections, relationships, things that like can come with you to your last day and not physical money. So like I'm gonna keep my toe in the water. I'm definitely not going to be able to play as much as I want to. And that's okay, because it's a video game. You can sign in anytime you want, play anytime you want. Like, you don't have to
pay for battle pass.
Pay, yeah, like, that's the great advantage of knowing that you have an online service game that you already own. So, and I guess, like, to wrap it all up, I'm just, like, really glad that I'm here. And, of course, hearing Justin being done, and I understand he's got his obligations. It breaks my heart a little bit, like in a context that like he's got what he's got to do. So I'm still going to be playing here and there, but anytime that message comes in our chat or anytime that comes like, hey, we squatting up, you better count on me showing up. You better count on it. So
good to know.
Yeah, so being like a high level player, spending so much time, yeah, like it sucks because you invest part of your life into it, and then when you have to let it go, it hurts. But you know, at the end of the day,
Gay.
sorry, I roll my tongue a lot. It's a video game. You know, it's you can play it whenever you want. It's for entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not your life. It's not the end all be all. You can always revisit it anytime you want. So it'll be there waiting for you. So take that with what you will. So.
Okay, well that's interesting. It's glad to hear your points as veteran players of the game. You know, over the last few years, definitely interesting. I'm curious as to where Overwatch will go from this point on. They definitely got a long road again ahead. Let's hope they can survive. I hope for the player base for the best for them. I hope they get all the support that they need and want. But let us know how you feel about the game. Are you still playing it? Are you still looking forward to new patches and updates for the game? Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Let us know how you feel about it, and let us know what you think. And if we have anything wrong, feel free to also let us know about that. We're always open to criticism here. And until next time, hopefully I can bring these two back on again.